Ethan stood alone in the training hall, his hands shaking slightly, his heart racing. As the other prototypes watched him with cold eyes, he had been designed to survive the harshest planets, to be stronger, faster, and smarter than any human before him. But today, he felt weak, too weak, and every failure made the whispers louder. "Look at him," one of the prototypes sneered. "He'll never make it." Another laughed. Even Dr. Lyra, the lead scientist, shook her head and frowned. "He's not enough," she muttered under her breath. Her voice carried weight, and everyone felt it. Ethan tried to ignore it, tried to focus on the small task in front of him, a simple strength test, something even a child could do. Yet his hands trembled as he lifted the metal rod, and it wobbled in his grip. A clatter echoed through the hall as it fell. The other prototypes laughed, pointing at him. Even the robotic trainers seemed to hesitate. It was clear to everyone Eth was the weakest, the slowest, the most fragile. He felt his face burn with shame. But inside, something stirred, a quiet spark he did not yet understand. He clenched his fists and focused on his breathing. He had been mocked before, yes, but this time, something was different. The whispers of failure were like fuel, not chains. He did not yet know what he could do, but he knew he had to try. Dr. Lyra walked slowly around him, her eyes sharp and calculating. She had seen hundreds of prototypes come and go, some strong, some fast, some clever, but she had never seen one like Ethan. He did not fit her calculations, he did not meet her expectations, and yet there was a spark in him, a strange persistence that made her pause. She shook her head and whispered again, "He's not enough." Her words hung in the air, heavy and final. Ethan heard them, and he felt the sting, but deep inside, he refused to believe her. The next test was even harder. It was a balance and speed exercise. The other prototypes ran quickly, leaping over obstacles, landing with perfect precision. Ethan tried, but he stumbled. He fell, scraping his knees, and the laughter around him grew louder. A group of prototypes pointed and mocked him. "You're hopeless," one said. "You'll never survive a real mission." Another added, he wanted to give up. He wanted to disappear, but he remembered the spark inside, the quiet fire that had not yet burned out. Ethan got up slowly, feeling the pain in his knees. He took a deep breath and tried again. Step by step, he moved forward, not as fast as the others, not as perfect, but he did not stop. His determination grew stronger with each fall, each stumble, each laugh, and Dr. Lyra noticed it. The way he refused to give in, something about him was different, something she could not yet understand. By the end of the training, Ethan was bruised, scratched, and exhausted, but he had finished every obstacle, even if imperfectly. The other prototypes walked away, shaking their heads, still laughing quietly among themselves. Dr. Lyra stood in silence, watching him, her expression unreadable. She had said he was not enough, but now, looking at him, she felt a twinge of doubt. Perhaps this weak, trembling prototype was hiding something, something no one had seen before, and tomorrow morning, everything could change. Little did she know, Ethan's story had only just begun. The spark inside him was about to ignite, and the world that laughed at him would soon be speechless. The morning light spilled into the training hall, painting the floors in golden streaks. Ethan stood quietly, his eyes focused, his body calm. Yesterday, everyone had laughed at him, called him weak, but today, something felt different. Even Dr. Lyra noticed it, though she did not yet understand why. The first test of the day was simple lifting and carrying heavy objects across the hall. The other prototypes moved with precision and speed, easily completing the task. Ethan stepped forward slowly, his hands brushing the metal rods. For a moment, it seemed he would fail again, but then, a strange energy pulsed through him. His muscles moved with a strength he had never known. The rod lifted smoothly, almost as if it weighed nothing. The other prototypes froze, their laughter dying on their lips. Dr. Lyra's eyes widened as she watched him. Something was happening that no one could explain. Next, the agility test began. A series of obstacles that required speed, balance, and sharp reflexes. Ethan ran, his movements precise, almost instinctive. He leaped over barriers, dodged swinging machines. Even the robotic trainers paused, scanning him with surprise. "Impossible," one of the other prototypes muttered. Dr. Lyra could not look away, her mind racing. He was supposed to be weak, unfit for survival, and yet he moved with skill she had never seen in a human before. But the surprises did not end there. During a simulation of an alien attack, sensors began to flash, detecting something unusual. Ethan's senses sharpened, his eyes scanning the hall quickly. He predicted the movement of the training drones, dodging every strike before it came. It was as if he could see into the future. The other prototypes stumbled and failed. Ethan moved calmly, protecting himself and even warning others of danger. Dr. Lyra stepped back, her face pale. Could it be? She whispered to herself. For the first time, doubt replaced her certainty. After the test, Ethan sat quietly, wiping sweat from his forehead. He did not boast. He did not laugh. He simply breathed, feeling the strange power within him. The other prototypes avoided his gaze, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Some looked fearful, others confused. No one had expected this. No one had imagined that the weakest prototype could be the strongest. Dr. Lyra approached slowly, her expression unreadable. She studied his movements, the way he held himself, the calm determination in his eyes. "He is different," she murmured softly, almost afraid to say it aloud. Her calculations had been wrong, her judgment flawed. For the first time, she questioned everything she knew about human potential. And Ethan, unaware of her thoughts, simply continued, quiet, humble, and strong in a way no one had predicted. By the end of the day, rumors spread among the prototypes. "Did you see him?" One whispered, "Something is wrong. He is too fast, too strong." Another said. Ethan ignored them, focused on the next task, but deep down, he knew that whatever had awakened inside him was only the beginning, a secret power, a hidden strength, waiting for the right moment. As the sun set over the training hall, Dr. Lyra stared at him one last time, her mind filled with questions, her confidence shaken. She had laughed at him yesterday, called him weak, and yet, now she could not deny. Ethan was extraordinary. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and by then, everyone would begin to see that the prototype they had mocked could change everything. Little did anyone know, Ethan's journey had only just begun. The spark inside him was growing, and soon, it would become a fire that no one could ignore. The alarm blared suddenly through the training hall, its loud shriek echoing in every corner. Red lights flashed, warning of an incoming alien simulation. The other prototypes froze for a moment, their confidence slipping, but Ethan stepped forward calmly, his eyes focused, his mind clear. The first wave of drones swooped down, mechanical and fast, their weapons glowing ominously. The other humans panicked, stumbling and shouting. Ethan moved with speed and precision, dodging each strike effortlessly. He reached a fallen teammate and pushed them out of harm's way. Even the robotic trainers paused, their sensors scanning him in surprise. The weakest prototype was saving lives instead of failing. Dr. Lyra watched from the control room, her hands gripping the railing. Her jaw tightened, her mind racing. She had seen his strength grow yesterday, but this was something she could not have imagined. Ethan was not just strong, he was instinctive, quick, and fearless. Every move he made was perfect, every decision calculated in an instant. It was as if he could predict the drone's attacks before they happened. The other prototypes tried to follow him. Some fell, others were hit by the drones. Fear clouded their minds, slowing their reactions. Ethan ran among them, guiding them, protecting them. He lifted heavy debris to block the drones' paths. He shouted directions, his voice calm but firm. The scene looked chaotic, yet somehow, Ethan was in control. Dr. Lyra felt a mixture of fear and admiration. She had laughed at him just days ago, called him weak, unfit, nothing special, and now she could not deny it. He was extraordinary, beyond anything she had ever seen. Her mind raced with questions, doubts, and a strange hope. Could this weak prototype truly be humanity's future? The drones increased their speed, more of them swarming in from all directions. Ethan's muscles burned, his body ached, but he did not stop. He did not hesitate. He used every skill, every instinct, every bit of his hidden strength. He jumped, ducked, and rolled, moving faster than anyone thought possible. He even used the environment, pushing obstacles to block the drone's path. When one of the drones fired a deadly beam at the others, Ethan leapt into its path, redirecting the attack with a metal panel. No one had ever moved like that before. By the end of the simulation, the hall was quiet, except for the heavy breathing of the exhausted humans. Ethan stood tall, bruised but unbroken. The other prototypes stared at him, their eyes wide with shock and awe. Whispers filled the room. Did he deceive them all? Dr. Lyra finally stepped forward, her expression unreadable. She had doubted him, mocked him, and yet, here he was, proving that strength is not always visible at first glance. Ethan did not boast. He did not celebrate. He simply nodded to the fallen teammates and helped them to their feet. His humility made him even stronger in their eyes. Dr. Lyra's heart pounded. She had been proven wrong, completely and utterly wrong. Tomorrow, new challenges awaited, and Ethan's hidden abilities had only just begun to show. Little did everyone know. The first challenge was only the beginning. The prototype they had laughed at would soon face even greater tests, and each test would reveal more of the power that had been hidden inside him all along. The next morning, the training hall buzzed with whispers. Everyone talked about what had happened yesterday, even the other prototypes, who had once laughed. Ethan now looked at him differently. "Did you see him?" One whispered. He saved everyone," another added. But Ethan did not boast. He did not even seem to notice the attention. He simply focused on the next exercise, calm and determined. Dr. Lyra watched him closely, her eyes sharp, her mind racing. She had always measured humans by their strength, speed, and intelligence. But Ethan was teaching her a lesson she had never expected. He was strong, yes, but his courage and calmness under pressure were even more impressive. Every time he acted, he seemed to inspire others without even trying. She could not stop wondering what else was hidden inside him. The morning's exercises were harder than ever. The prototypes had to navigate a dangerous obstacle course while carrying heavy loads. Some had failed before, but Ethan moved through it with surprising ease. He leaped over gaps that looked impossible. He lifted obstacles effortlessly, and he even helped struggling teammates, guiding them safely to the other side. The hall fell silent as everyone watched him. He no longer looked weak. He looked like a leader, someone meant for greatness. A few of the other prototypes approached him quietly. "Teach us," one said, his voice trembling. Ethan smiled slightly, shaking his head. "I don't need to teach you," he said simply. "You just need to try." His words were humble, yet they carried a weight that made the others pause. For the first time, they realized strength was more than muscles. More than speed, it was determination, courage, and heart. Dr. Lyra's mind was a storm of emotions. She had mocked him, doubted him, called him weak, and yet, here he was, outperforming everyone and earning respect without even trying. She could not deny it any longer. Ethan was extraordinary. Her calculations had been wrong, her assumptions flawed, and she could feel that this prototype was not just strong, he was the future of humanity. Her heart raced with excitement and fear, because she knew that tomorrow would bring an even greater challenge, and Ethan was ready for it, whether she liked it or not. By midday, Ethan's reputation had grown. Even the robotic trainers seemed to respond differently to him. They tested him harder, expecting him to fail, but he did not fail. He passed every test with precision and skill, and quietly, without fanfare. He became the example for the others. The weakest prototype had become the standard by which everyone else was measured. Yet, despite all the praise, Ethan remained calm. He did not seek attention or glory. He simply focused on improving himself, learning, and surviving. And this quiet strength made him even more remarkable. Dr. Lyra watched, her mind full of questions. Could a human truly grow this fast? Could one person change the course of everything? She did not know the answers. But one thing was clear: Ethan was no longer the weak prototype. He was something far more powerful, and the world would soon notice as the day ended. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the training hall. Ethan stood silently, watching the others leave. His thoughts were calm but focused. He knew tomorrow would bring challenges even greater than today, and he was ready. Little did everyone know, the true test was coming. A challenge that would reveal the full extent of his hidden power, and when it came, no one would doubt him again. The next morning, the air was thick with tension. All the prototypes gathered for the final test, a challenge that would push them beyond anything they had faced. The objective was clear: survive a simulated alien invasion, secure the base, and protect the team. But this time, the difficulty was extreme, more dangerous than any before. The alarm blared, red lights flashed, and drones swarmed from every direction. Chaos erupted as the other prototypes stumbled, struggling to keep up, but Ethan stepped forward calmly, his eyes scanning the field. Every movement was precise, every decision quick and deliberate. It was as if he could see the outcome before it happened. A massive drone fired a beam at a group of struggling teammates. Without hesitation, Ethan leapt into the path, deflecting the attack with a metal panel. He pushed one teammate to safety and pulled another from falling debris. The other prototypes watched in awe, unable to believe what they saw. Even the robotic trainers paused, recording every move with surprise. Ethan did not stop. He moved from threat to threat. Drones came from above, from the sides, even from behind. He dodged, rolled, and fought, using not just strength, but intelligence and strategy. He coordinated the others, guiding them, protecting them. By the end of the first wave, all the team members were safe, and the remaining drones were already It was more than victory, it was perfection. Dr. Lyra could not contain herself. She had doubted him, laughed at him, called him weak, and now she felt a mixture of awe and guilt. Her eyes followed every movement, and slowly she realized what everyone else was starting to understand. Ethan was no ordinary prototype. He was extraordinary, stronger, faster, smarter than anyone had imagined. The final wave was the hardest. A massive drone, larger and faster than the others, moved straight toward the center of the base. Ethan analyzed it quickly, then smiled slightly. He leapt, dodged, and used a combination of speed and strategy to trap the drone in a containment field. The other prototypes could only watch, amazed. It was over. The base was safe, the challenge complete, and Ethan stood tall, bruised but victorious, calm but powerful. Dr. Lyra approached him, her eyes wide. I was wrong, she whispered. You are more than enough, Ethan. He nodded quietly, never boasting, never proud. His humility made him even greater in their eyes. The other prototypes looked at him with respect, some even in awe. The weak prototype they had laughed at had become the hero, the example, the future. As the sun set over the training hall, Ethan looked at the horizon. He knew this was only the beginning. A greater challenge awaited the humans beyond this world, and he would face it, ready and strong. For he had discovered something inside himself that no one could take away: courage, strength, intelligence, and a heart that would not give up. The world had laughed at him, mocked him, and doubted him, but they had no idea what he truly was. Ethan, the weakest prototype, had become the greatest hope of humanity, and tomorrow he would show them even more. The spark inside him had become a fire, and no one would ever forget his name.